it's good to be here. And I see a couple people sliding in here, so I'm ready to answer questions.
Indeed. So, welcome to everybody. And I'll just point out we don't record any normal TSM meetings, but we do record this one because we then get a lot of value with people being able to watch it afterwards. So, if any of the co-hosts change your name, they might just change it. If you happen to have your full name, they might just change it back to your first name. We just try and help everybody out there, but you won't be on the recording. Your name, no, not even your name, will pop up when you're asking questions. So, yes, welcome, Claudia. It's always wonderful to have you here. And I'm sure you are well known to everybody on the call, but just in case anybody happens to be unfamiliar with you, of course, Claudia is essentially the godmother of TSM in my mind. And most people will be familiar with Claudia from the TED Talk, which nearly everybody has seen, as the founder and head of the C3 Foundation, which we're all benefiting from, the creator of One Little Pill, the documentary, the author of Babylon Confidential and Journeys, and also the voice behind Roy Escarpa's book, The Cure for Alcoholism. So, yeah, it's wonderful to have you here. For everybody here, this is an opportunity to talk directly to Claudia. So feel free to put your questions in the chat and we can connect you directly as we go along in this meeting. So it is a wonderful opportunity and please make the most of it. While we're doing that, Claudia, I'd love to hear just C3 Foundation and how's all of that going at the moment?
Gosh, it's the end of the year, so you know what that means. Fundraising. We're doing a small fundraiser that Jenny is running right now before she moves to Kansas. So that's kind of exciting. We got rid of the Florida office after Hurricane, was it Ida or last time? Which one was it? I can't remember. Ida. After the last hurricane, we decided that's it. So we went, we also just couldn't afford it. It was, even though it was very cheap and small, but we went, she decided to move. So we want to get rid of some of the charity auction items that I've collected over the years. There's some memorabilia that people have donated, actors, especially genre actors. So we have some products from everything from Star Trek, Babylon 5 to gaming stuff to Buffy, other series, Canadian series. Lots of different actors have donated stuff. So Jenny is now auctioning off also books, a lot of books that she's auctioning off. That's happening right now. So if you follow C3 Foundation on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, you can see the fundraiser there. We're also doing the Jenny Jump or Stay Grounded fundraiser, where she's jumping out of an airplane. That wrapped up, and I believe that she, thanks to me and my supporters, I kept her grounded. So even though she really wanted to jump out of the plane, frankly, I just felt that we need her too much, and I got people to donate first, keep Jenny grounded. So she kind of probably a little ticked off at me, but that's life. So that's what C3 Foundation is doing right now. We're running a couple of fundraisers. Of course, we have our big Grand Poobah fundraiser that we are continuing until July of next year. That was our We're Turning 10 fundraiser, and we were our goal was to raise $100,000. I believe we're only around the $28,000 mark, but as always, we are adding coaches to the yoursinclairmethod.com page, which is really exciting. I've trained another additional 3 or 4 coaches in the last few months. I'm excited about that. So we have a really vibrant page now. People are being helped, and for the first time, we're actually breaking even and making a little bit of money on the coaching page now. So that's kind of exciting. That took us a while. I believe I launched that during the pandemic, but that's where we are right now. And I decided to come here tonight because it's the middle of the week. We're heading towards the holidays, and as always, right before Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, I'm concerned about people sticking to the medication protocol and finding the support they need, and having any questions about what do I do at a party or any of that stuff. I'm going to be around family. They trigger me. All of those things that come part and parcel with the holiday season. So Anybody who has any questions or comments or just wants to, talk about something in particular, let me know.
Fantastic. Well, we've just dropped into the chat at the moment the Instagram, so some people weren't familiar with that, and also a direct link to the auction page in there as well. So I might just dig into that just while we're waiting for some questions to come in. So that holiday season and the tips for people who are in these social occasions, because a lot of people doing TSM haven't even been on it for a whole year. It's so common that people on our calls in particular, and most likely now they're 4 months in, 5 months, 6 months. So they've never seen this season at all. Last season was probably a bit of a train wreck. What springs to mind for you as an opportunity when it gets to Thanksgiving and Christmas and being in those environments that are tempting?
I can even remember it when I started TSM in January of 2009. So I was just past that holiday season. So my very first, seminal moments, holidays on the Sinclair method were really important because, first of all, there are a lot of people who have seen you previously unleashed, and a lot of people in my family and friend circle that had seen me out of control over the holidays. So I was already walking into it with trepidation and with insecurity and all of that, but I felt really confident by that point on that TSM would control my drinking. So the most important thing for me in all of the holiday parties and events that were going on was to make sure I had my medication with me, whether or not I decided to drink at that event or not. So that's something that, our best intention is like, oh, I'm going to be around my grandmother, so I don't think I'm going to drink because I embarrassed myself last time I saw my grandma. So this time I'm just not going to drink. I'm going to help her bake cookies. You know what? That's a great best intention, but you got to have your medication with you because something might happen. Somebody might crack open a bottle of your favorite wine and you might say, you know what? I kind of want to have a drink. So always bring your medication. That's just commonsensical. The second thing is to really evaluate who's going to be there at these situations. If Uncle Bob triggers you, then you're going to have to set boundaries. You're going to have to make up with Uncle Bob or have an intelligent conversation with him. Let's say Uncle Bob is saying, oh, I don't understand why you're on that damn pill. I've been going to meetings for 40 years and I'm sober, or maybe Uncle Bob says, come on, have a drink. Hey, have a drink, have another drink. Hey, come on, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you drinking like you used to? You used to be my drinking buddy. Uncle Bob might just be a pain in the butt. Okay, so what are we going to do about Uncle Bob when we go to the party? Well, we are going to gently explain to Uncle Bob that you already have a drink and you are pacing yourself. And maybe you brought some alcohol-free beers that you're going to hide in the fridge. So you'll pour one of those in a nice beer stein and cheer with Uncle Bob. Whatever it is, whatever it takes, this is your holiday. This is your recovery. You don't owe anybody an extra cocktail. You don't owe anybody an excuse or an explanation. Just be present, enjoy yourself, and communicate and set your boundaries. That's my advice. Yeah. First step.
Fantastic. Yeah, Karen was saying that she's got that exact situation coming up. So feel free to explain some of that, Karen, and Claudia will have some advice for you.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah.
Okay, good deal. I think that's all really helpful. And see if I can get my video going here. But yeah, I think, it's been a struggle because with my family, I'm kind of the big drinker, but it's also common for us to have drinking activities during the holidays. And it's hard to, I've talked to my mom about it and my sister-in-law, but really those are the only two people who I've described the method to. And, it just kind of becomes a lot to explain like, hey, I'm drinking, but this is why, even though, last year I was completely sober during Thanksgiving because I, was thinking I had been drinking too much. So yeah, I guess I don't have any sort of specific question, but yeah, maybe just like approaching that, like, okay, there are a lot of people and they're all sort of judging me in these different ways, but it's a lot to describe like, hey, I'm doing this method and that's,
No, I hear you, but you know, if you're close to any of them, if you're talking about immediate family and people who you email on a regular basis and talk to on a regular basis, I don't think it's too much to ask if these people love you and they're family members that you send them the free link to One Little Pill or my TED Talk or
Oh,
something. Say, you know what? We're all going to be together for Thanksgiving, and this is what I'm on. Really don't want to spend time at Thanksgiving chatting about it, but if you're interested, you know, here, take a look at this. I mean, I know that it was weird for people to see me go from sobriety to drinking, even though I wasn't drinking heavily. And
Mhm.
you're right, you do feel that feeling. And I didn't have anything to tell them. You know, I wasn't going to carry around a copy of The Cure for Alcoholism to family parties.
Right.
I mean, so I mean, you could either prep them or you could hope for the best. I mean, it depends on how close you are to these people. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I told my dad that the thing I was on involves drinking, and he kind of, you know, went out of his way to bring wine to the first function. And he, you know, he was just trying to normalize the situation, and God bless him. I mean, everybody's going to react differently, but it's up to you to show them through your own confidence and your own fullness in your own recovery. You have to stand in your recovery and have confidence of showing them that you're drinking normally. And
Yeah.
you have to really, really be present of mind, body, and spirit in that event, so that you know that you're not drinking because you're triggered, or that, you know, the supposition that everyone has something out for you is something that we carry with us. Like, everyone's looking at me, everyone's judging me. Half the time they're not. A lot of them are
Yeah.
buzzed on their own, or maybe they smoked a joint in the car, or maybe they're
Right.
off at Aunt Sally because she made the sweet potatoes and you were promised to make the sweet potatoes. I mean, there could be so much other stuff going on that the reason why you think that the headlight, the big, you know, microphone's on you, is because of your own personal shame and feelings, and because we're so hard on ourselves because of our pasts. So I would just say a little mantra to yourself before you go to any family event this holiday season, and just say, you know what, I'm okay, and as long as they see me being okay, they're going to be okay to me. And you never know, somebody might be curious and say, you know what, last year you weren't drinking, and this year you're drinking so little. I'm curious what's going on with you. And in that case, be loving, share it with them, because they're being loving toward you, you know. And if somebody says something snotty or snide or whatever, you can just say with a big smile on your face, say, you know what, I've found a wonderful way to handle my drinking, and it involves harm reduction, and I'm so happy. I'm in such a great place right now.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Aunt Alice, how are you? You know, switch it back
Yeah.
to self.
Right.
I always say, I'm in such a great place in my life right now. And how do you? Immediately reflect back to them, because a lot of times when people are in pain, they go for the underdog. They go pick on the person who's had past problems. And you're not going to be that person. You're not going to be that person, because you're going to just shine with joy and recovery. And you're going to stand in there, and whether you're drinking a real alcohol beverage or a non-alcoholic beverage in between, you're going to stand in there because you took your pill. And you're going to feel fine. You're going to be proud, as a matter of fact, that you can just feel normal and be with your family. Don't anticipate. That's the thing, is we anticipate all this stuff, and we carry that nervous energy into things. You don't want to do that. Right before you enter the door, you want to say, I'm just coming in this door with love. They're going to respect me because I'm going to respect them. And that's a shift of energy. People can tell when you're vulnerable and when you're not feeling comfortable. If you're feeling comfortable and you're looking happy, why would anybody have any reason to bring it up?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the idea of like showing that, you know, sending them a couple of links ahead of time, because I am close to a lot of them. So
sure, by all means,
sending Thanksgiving dinner, explaining things, just kind of like ahead of time, being like, hey, check this out. And then, you know, if you have questions, let me know.
That would be so wonderful. And guess what? You're probably going to help somebody by sending those links. You probably, because they're going to say, oh my God, my neighbor Nancy is drinking way too much, or my doctor said that I should cut down, or whatever. You know that it's going to resonate with somebody. And they also it might help them get over their discomfort. You have to understand, we're not the only ones uncomfortable when we're drinking too much. The people around us don't know how to handle us. They don't know what to say. So they either avoid us or they say something stupid. And that's just awkwardness because they don't know how to help people who have had this issue. So they either hurt you or they just ignore you. Or unless some of them that are compassionate and slightly evolved will come up and say, you know what, you look great. I'm really happy for you. And that's enough. But
Yeah.
I think sending those links would be a wonderful idea. You know, the free
Yeah.
One Little Pill is free right now online, and the TED Talk, and just say, you know, you might wonder why I'm back to social drinking, and this is why, and I'm in a really great place in my life, and I wanted to share this information in case you know someone else who you know wants to follow the harm reduction model.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Claudia.
You're so welcome, and thanks for joining this meeting.
Thanks very much, Karen. I'll go to you now, Chip. So, Chip, a few months in and yeah, facing some challenges. Feel free to speak directly there, Chip.
Hi, Chip.
Oh, yeah. My question is, what do you think you would tell someone who's on, like, I guess I don't need to read my question, but like, I'm 9 weeks in. I'm really struggling. I'm coming to this TSM meetings, as Dave can attest to. I kind of even had a breakdown last week during a meeting because I'm so mad. I know that it's not a turnkey solution, but I'm sure that you encounter a lot of people that are doing TSM and taking now. My question is, do you see people that, like, you know, the first like 2 or 3 weeks that like my alcohol consumption was reduced by about 35%. I was like about a 20 to 25 unit a day drinker for since the pandemic, and then before that, well, since I turned 21 and I'm 46 now. Do you see people that are struggling in, like, you know, months 2 or 3 or 4?
Chip, sweetheart. Right. You're 9 weeks in. It took you 20 something years to develop this drinking problem, right? Is that true? You started when you were 21 and you're in your 40s now? Are you there? Hello? Did he leave?
Sorry. No, he must have muted himself and he
No,
can't unmute himself.
No, I'm here. Sorry. It wouldn't let me unmute myself. Yes. I started the day I turned 21. I was working at a group home for kids. I got off work 6 a.m, drove to a beer barn, bought a 6-pack of Red Dog, and from that day on, it was every day, every single day.
So listen, you're really wired tight, man. Okay, you immediately found some sort of comfort when alcohol hit your brain. You said this is the solution, and that's why you started drinking constantly. Okay, so all of those years of rewiring your brain and this ingrained habit and this solution, this knee-jerk response to life. I'm going to get a beer. I'm going to drink. I'm going to do this. Bad day at work, bad day here. You know, I'm having fun. That's your thing. That's the substance that you went to. For some people, it's food. Some people, it's opiates. For you, it was alcohol. And that's a long time to be drinking and to expect in 9 weeks to be cured. So let's go back to the very beginning. You took it in the beginning, and in the first couple of weeks, you reduced your drinking. That means you are a responder. That means the medication was working for you. That means that there's a pretty good chance that if you stick to it and you take it correctly and you start changing your habits at some point and you start analyzing why you use alcohol, then there's a really good chance that within, let's say, 6 to 9 months, you'll see another profound drop in your drinking. But if you're just popping the pill and waiting an hour and hoping that the pill does everything, then it's going to probably take a really long time for everything to change. Does that make any sense to you?
That makes a lot of sense. And I am doing other things. I'm trying to be conscious of it. I'm trying to substitute bubbly water, you know, alternating. I have a TSM coach. I have 2 therapists. I go to these TSM meetings. I'm really trying, and that's why I think I kind of had, and I get it. I did all the research. I read everything on Reddit. You know, like I just Googled everything. I watched your TED Talk 10 times. You know, not really 10 times, but like probably 3 times. I went to the gym, and while I was at the gym, I listened to The Cure for Alcoholism. I watched One Little Pill twice. And I guess I thought that doing all that would like speed up the process, but it doesn't. And so it was like disheartening.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is great for the edification. I mean, you're learning about the method, but if you're a daily drinker, first of all, let's break this down. If you're a daily drinker and you've been on it for 9 weeks and you saw a response in the beginning, you got to get eventually to the point where we can do the dual aspect therapy of TSM. And that'll be when you start to have alcohol-free days and you can build up your natural dopamine system by engaging in activities that produce endorphins. That's like another step of the process, but we're talking about just in the beginning now. Have your cravings decreased at all? I mean, do you notice a decrease in cravings, meaning that if you start drinking at 5 o'clock every night, is there any time that you've said at 5 o'clock, you know what? I'm not really craving alcohol, but I'm going to have one anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're drinking out of habit and habit. See, because you really need to identify why you're drinking. And I'm sure your coach has told you this and your therapist has told you this, but if on a Wednesday night, like on tonight, if you're saying to yourself, well, why am I drinking on a Wednesday night when I'm not even craving alcohol? That's what you have to find out. What is the fear of not drinking?
Well,
yeah.
Just for the people listening, Dave already knows. I'm going through a divorce right now after 22 years, and it started happening right when I started TSM. And I have told the group, I'm just letting you know that, like, without TSM, I think I probably would have gone off the rocker. I do think that I probably would have lost my job. I don't know my wife sure would have got everything, and you know what I mean? Like, I think that TSM absolutely kept me from going back to 25 units. You know, I've kept pretty steady at about 8 to 10, but I did spike a week ago and went to like 14. But I am back down, like the last week, back down to about 10. But without TSM, I absolutely think that I would have gone bonkers.
Chip, what are you expecting after 9 weeks? This has kept you from relapsing badly. It's kept you from going back up to 25 units. It's kept you together through one of the most stressful events in life, divorce. I mean, you're telling me the story and I'm thinking TSM is a bloody miracle for you, frankly. I mean, I think you're being way too hard on the method. The method is working for you. I swear it's working for you. You need to hang in there and you need to stay consistent. Okay. That means you consistently keep up everything you're doing. Keep consistently taking the tablet and waiting at least an hour. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. Keep being mindful about why you're drinking. Try not to drink simply because you're stressed. Try to work out instead, or go for a walk, or do something positive, play with your dogs, do something, organize your closet, pack up some boxes. Try to really be hyper aware right now, because yes, you are going through something incredibly difficult. And if at month 4 or 5, you're still frustrated, you can talk to your doctor about maybe trying a slightly higher dose for a couple of months. But honestly, right now, I wouldn't even think about that. I think you're doing really well. The fact that you've reduced and you've had some nights that you're only at 8 is remarkable. It's remarkable. I mean, Chip, you're doing amazing.
Well, thank you very much.
Stop being so hard on yourself, man. I mean, you're doing great, and your decrease is substantial. And most people at 9 weeks see hardly any difference at all. Okay, you're probably looking at too many people online who say, "Oh, I took it for 2 days and I've reduced by 50%." That, you know what, and the most of those people after 6 months, they go on a bender or they relapse, or I mean, it's like you can't listen to anybody. online. You can't compare your recovery to anybody else's, because nobody is drinking for the same reasons that you are, and nobody has the same life experience that you have. The fact that you're still going to work and you're going through this horrendous thing, which is a divorce, and you've got all these other responsibilities, and you're not going off the rails by drinking out yourself to oblivion every night, is amazing. And the pill is helping you do that. It's helping you maintain control. So please don't give up. Stay in the meetings, stay getting support from everybody, but take it from me and my 13 years of seeing thousands of people. You're doing just fine. You're doing great.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
You're doing great, Chip.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chip. You're getting some love in the chat too there, so check on that. I'll C and E had a question that relates to PTSD. I think it's a typo. Would you like to speak directly to that?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can.
Perfectly.
Yeah, so I've been seeing a TSM coach through C3 and a therapist once a week. I have PTSD. And you know, TSM worked really well at the beginning, and I think I hit a wall about, because I'm about 17 months in, so I hit a wall, but I think it has to do with just getting through using alcohol as a crutch, and like finally just I don't know, advice.
Yeah, you know, this is the thing. It's really hard to break the habit once you find a substance that brings you comfort. And the only way to get through that and to find the way to give yourself comfort is to identify exactly what the alcohol is giving you. So if the alcohol is making your anxiety lessen, then you have to find other ways to treat the anxiety. If your PTSD is, if you're starting to, when you bring memories up or bring feelings up from your post-traumatic stress disorder, then, and you're immediately going to grab a drink, you have to make that correlation between why do I think alcohol is going to help it when it hasn't helped it for how many years? Because what it really does, as you know, the alcohol, the very first drink might bring some relief, but then it's that vicious circle of the dog chasing its tail. You need, not only do you need more, but your cortisol levels start to go up, your anxiety starts to go up, and now you need more and more and more and more alcohol just to feel even remotely normal. So you know, you're smart. You know it's not going to work long term. So why do we keep grabbing it? We keep grabbing it because it's the first thing that comforted us with any situation, whether it's PTSD or anxiety or trauma or just loneliness or boredom. We grabbed a drink, and now our brain is saying, oh, that's the solution. We have to tell ourselves that is not the solution. You have to look at that drink and say, this is not going to ease my pain long term. So how am I going to help myself recover? What am I going to do instead of grabbing this drink? Am I going to try some other form of therapy, animal therapy, talk to a friend, go for a walk? Am I going to go watch a movie instead and make some tea? Am I going to go make a box for Goodwill? So I'm doing something, getting the energy and the pressure off of me. What am I going to do instead of grabbing a drink? And even if that means you delay the drink by an hour, that's a step in the right direction. The most important thing, whether you're in 9 weeks or 15 or 17 months, is to break that habit of constantly grabbing alcohol as the end-all solution to everything that's going wrong, including PTSD. So you, at 17 months, who feel like I've hit a wall, it's probably because the medication was doing its job. You saw the reduction, you were excited about the method and the process, you were seeing results, and now life just continues the way it continues.
100%. 100%. I had a time where I saw the light and I felt a life without alcohol, and then I now I've regressed, and then I hit a wall, and now I'm getting frustrated.
Yeah. See, this is the thing, is sometimes the medication works so well that we need to catch up with it emotionally. And it's the same thing happened to me. I didn't really recover until I quit drinking, to be honest with you. And I was on TSM for 9 years. And it's because the medication worked so well and I was able to control my drinking that I didn't bother working on the internal stuff. So what I'm saying to all of you, and the reason why I come to these meetings and the reason why I still coach all the time, is because I can see the big picture now. You've got to do both things at once, the biological issues and the emotional issues. So the biological problem is being addressed with the medication. And you've got to be absolutely fastidious about staying on the medication and waiting the hour. And once we get into year 1 and year 2 and year 3, sometimes we take the pill and we drink it 35 minutes. No. There's one rule, one golden rule. Once you start slipping on that one golden rule, it's not good. That's how people relapse. That's how people start drinking more. So if you're doing it properly, you're taking the medication, you're waiting at least an hour, and then you're drinking mindfully, not a knee-jerk response to life. You're drinking mindfully. It's Saturday night. I'm going to go out with friends. I'm going to take an Uber. I'm going to wait an hour and 15 minutes. I'm going to order 1 glass of wine, make sure I finish it before I even think about ordering a second one. And before I order that second one, I'm going to ask myself, do I really want or need a second glass, and why? If you're doing all of those things and you're seeking therapy and you're coming to meetings and you're everything else, and you're at month 17 and you're frustrated, then you've got to ask yourself, okay, what was I doing differently in the beginning when I saw the light? What changed?
I wasn't waiting the full hour some of the times, and I was drinking emotionally. I wasn't drinking mindfully.
Yeah. So this is a really great revelation, isn't it? Because you can see it. See here, and it happened to me too, by the way. There is no judgment coming from me whatsoever when I say any of these things, people. I did the same thing. I remember being on a plane thinking, didn't I take my pill? I think I took my pill, and ordering a drink on the plane. And it was literally, that's what was the beginning of what caused my relapse in year 5. I should have known better. I should have known that if I didn't remember taking the pill, I should have just taken another one and waited an hour. There is no excuse. And I relearned the addictive behavior so quickly, it would make your head spin. So I'm telling all of you that you've got to wait the full hour, at least the hour. This is your life-saving medication. It is your life-changing medication. You know, I say this and I've said it a million times, but if you had a brain tumor and I handed you a gummy and I said, if you've got to take this gummy at noon every day for the rest of your life, or your brain tumor will get so big it'll kill you within 3 days, you would take that gummy every day at noon for the rest of your life. You would take it, you would set an alarm, you would have the gummies everywhere. This is the same thing. This is your gummy. It's your life-saving medication. And we take it for granted and we get lazy, and we can't do that. Compliance, medication adherence is the golden rule. It is everything, people. It is everything. So embrace
But
it.
it sounds like you're saying it's also doing the work. Like
Doing the work, yes, of course. And if you're suffering from PTSD, you have a legitimate reason to dig deep, and it's going to be hard. You know that, and you have a legitimate reason to seek something that makes you feel comfortable. We just need to find what it is that's not alcohol that's going to make you feel a little bit better while you're being treated for PTSD, while you're doing the therapy, while you're digging deep, while you're choosing better relationships and putting up boundaries and communicating better with people and asking people for what you need during your recovery. All of these are components of recovery. It's not just popping a pill. It's not just doing that at all. You've got to ask yourself why and what the alcohol is doing for you, and what can I replace it with?
Well, thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Yeah, you know, this is just, it's a process that I see. What I see is people get so excited, and the first year is glorious, or the first 6 months, and they get their job back and their girlfriend back, and they're all happy and everything's wonderful. And then they just kind of get lax about things, and their drinking starts to increase, and they don't treat the pill like what it is, which is it changed their life. It saved their life. And then they forget their medication. They go to Mexico and they drink, and then it's undone. And now they've relearned it even worse. And now they've got to start over, and then they've got to go through the side effects again. And I've seen this movie so many times, and I don't want this to happen to any of you. I just want you to say, this is a gift. And at least the least I'm going to do is stay compliant. That's the least. That's the least I'm going to do. I'm going to at least stay compliant. I might drink heavily on Thanksgiving because Uncle Bob pissed me off, but I still took my pill. And I know exactly why I drank heavily, because I didn't set boundaries with Uncle Bob. I didn't tell him that he was crowding me and making me feel uncomfortable. So that's fine. You guys may all have heavy drinking days during the holidays. I understand that. But I want you to be aware. I just want you to be self-aware. If that means coming home and journaling about it, wonderful. If that means stepping outside during a family function and taking a breath and going for a walk around the block, wonderful. This is your recovery. Embrace it. This is also a time to become strong and proud and reclaim your life. You don't need to apologize to anybody. You're here, you're in the meeting, you got a medication, you're motivated, you're making changes in your life. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. Stand in that and be proud of yourself.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thanks very much, C and E. Just a reminder, please put your questions in the chat. We've got time for you to speak directly to Claudia. Carrie, I'll throw over to you.
Hi, Claudia. How are you?
I'm good, Carrie. How are you?
Well, thanks to you and TSM, I am doing amazing.
That's great.
And I mean, I cannot emphasize to you much how amazing your emphasis has been on my life, and I appreciate it.
It means a lot.
Oh, I'm so glad, because I don't want you to think that, you know, your efforts are in vain. They're not. So thank you so much. So I was on a cruise last week, and as you know, that's unlimited alcohol, unlimited, you know, debauchery, et cetera, and thanks to TSM and, you know, you and Dr. Volpicelli, et cetera, I was able to get to the point that I was like, yeah, I don't even want to drink.
That's amazing.
So no, it truly was.
And you remember the whole thing.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah. So you totally understand. So,
Totally.
you know, I came home, and I've been home for almost a week now, and I've been completely sober because I just have no desire to drink whatsoever. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am to you for bringing this to the forefront. If it were not for you, my significant other would not have discovered this alternate path to the 12-step program.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would still be, you know, in and out of treatment and then and this and that. But at this point, I am so close to extinction. I cannot thank you enough. So I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you, and thank you so much for being so brave to step out.
You just gave me the best Christmas gift I could ever ask for. Seriously. That is the most beautiful thing. When I hear that, I just want to cry, because sometimes you do think that you're sort of pissing in the wind when you're a kid, you know. So to hear a personal story of your life changed, and that you can remember holidays and cruises, and that you have your life together and you're close to extinction, that just touches my heart, and I'm thrilled for you. The things that I would tell you to do is, no matter what, even when you reach extinction, always keep your medication in your purse.
Yes.
On your keychain. You know, I love the story that Dr. Escop always told of the guy who had he reached extinction and he hadn't even had a drink in 5 years, and he still had one little tablet in a gold
Yes.
medallion on his necklace, and he still wore it as a reminder of like that pill is in there if I ever need it. Even though,
Right.
I mean, I don't drink, I haven't had a drink in 5 years, and I still have naltrexone in the house because I have no intention of drinking ever. It's just,
Right.
it's just, I would be so scared. Like, I don't know, maybe a
Yes.
house is broken into and somebody by gunpoint, says you have to, all right, let me take my med first. I mean, it really is.
Yes.
So what I would say to you is just always keep it in your DOP kit that you travel with, your little cosmetic case, and just, just in case, and to really understand the changes in your life. And once
Yes.
again, we go back to catching up to the medication. A lot of people don't make these changes in their life, so all of a sudden they have more time on their hands. I saw this during the pandemic, especially when a lot of people tried TSM. They were drinking really heavily, they got on TSM, but because it was the pandemic, their situation hadn't changed. So they're still watching Netflix every night and they're still isolating. And now how are they going to change their habits with all this time on their hands? How are they not going to fill that time with drinking? So a lot of people had to start new exercise programs, or they decided to, paint a bedroom or do something, home crafts or stuff like that. They learned how to bake bread because they realized if I don't change my habits, then I'm going to go back to drinking out of boredom.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so for you, now that you're reaching extinction and you don't have the desire to drink, you can start to really evaluate all the whys, and in a comfortable place. You're feeling good. You can say, wow, now I can see that. You can start forgiving people, forgiving yourself. You can start working on relationships. You can start asking yourself, maybe what put me in that position of relying on alcohol? What unpack it at your leisure and at your comfort, I tell people, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself. I find things even trickling in nowadays for me. You waver between, oh my God, I made such a jerk of myself 20 years ago at this wedding, to I'm recovered. So, it's like it never even happened.
Right.
There's these two extremes that happen in recovery. We either live too much in the past, or we ignore the past completely, and then the past happens again. So there has to be this happy medium of saying, I acknowledge the past. I know what happened. I know how dangerous alcohol was for me. I know I almost lost everything, or I got a DUI, or it really adversely affected my life. I acknowledge that. And I have to be really careful about putting this thing in my body.
Yeah.
But then you also have to move on in a way and forgive yourself and say, okay, I'm in a better place now. And the people who love me, and they're not going to make me keep, reminding and living that again and again and again. So it sounds like you're in a great place.
Yeah, I think there's probably a balance between awareness and grace. I have an awareness of the relationships that are now severed because of my alcoholism, but I am so beyond grateful for those relationships that remain, those people that stood by me, that believed in me. Those people are dear to my heart. So I'm moving forward with those relationships. And I, 100%.
It's important.
Yes.
I've told my friends that have been my friends for 5 years, I've told them, you've always been there, even in the worst times. And they just say, well, because I was just always hoping that you would, get better. And you did.
Yeah. And what a beautiful gift that is.
Yeah, it is beautiful when people are they're just there loving you. They just keep loving you. Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to thank you for doing this. If it were not for you, I would still be embroiled in the 12-step programs and completing the whole, success, fail, success, fail, success, fail, that garbage. So I really appreciate the fact that you presented this, and, my significant other came across this and presented it to me, and here we are. So I cannot tell you, like, seriously, Claudia, you saved my life, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. I so deeply appreciate that. Like I said, this is the best gift ever. people like you make me want to continue this until the
Oh.
day I die. So thank
Yeah,
you.
and I want to join you actually. So
Good. Well, listen,
Yes.
that's the thing, the beautiful thing. It's like the old
Yes.
commercial in the 70s, you know, and I told a friend and they told a friend and the champagne.
Exactly. That's so
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Yeah,
All it
exactly.
takes
Hey,
is-
I found the light. I want everybody to find the light. Yes, absolutely.
Well, the first place to start, everybody, is to tell your medical providers, whether it's the girl who does
Yes.
facial or the guy who
Yep.
gave you your COVID shot at CVS, or
Yep.
I'm serious. The
Yes.
medical providers,
No. No,
nurses.
100%. Yes, I have told my therapist, I have told my personal physician all about this, and they're kind of puzzled, but it's okay. I'm happy to educate them.
Good, good. And we have the doctor's site, which is c3foundation.net. So .org is for the average person who's looking for support and help on TSM, but .net is for medical providers, and it has all of the information that they can download, patient protocol, statements from doctors. So that's a good site. If your doctor says, well, I don't know, I want to see the clinical trials, say, great, c3foundation.net. So it's all in one place. So that's a really great thing to do. And thank you all for paying it forward by educating people. And this holiday season, you're at a Christmas party and somebody says that, Aunt B is drinking too much. You can maybe, with love, share with Aunt B what you're doing and help her. This is all about sharing this information.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Carrie. It's great to hear you doing so well. I'll cross to Amber now with a question about daily drinking and alcohol-free days. Amber, you should be able to unmute right now.
Hi there.
Hi.
Yeah, I had a question. I've been doing the TSM method diligently since about February, and I went from drinking probably 16 ounces of vodka a night, now down to 2 or 3 glasses of wine an evening. And I would say after the first 3 or so months, I did have a few alcohol-free days without any issue. And sometimes I was drinking even less, maybe 1 to 2 glasses of wine a night. But now I just seem to be steady at the 2 to 3. And every time I think about not having any alcohol, I kind of panic at the last minute, take my pill, wait an hour, and then end up drinking. But I think I've kind of got my answer from listening, so far, in that you really have to work on the psychological side of things. The pill takes care of the biological aspect. But yeah, if you're not asking yourself why and, doing that emotional work, you may never get beyond that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, look at what the pill did for you. It's quite remarkable that you were drinking that much vodka every night. And now you have a couple of glasses of wine. Maybe it's a security blanket that you're not quite ready to give up. And it's also, there's some people, it's an internal fight of saying, well, I've taken my medication, I've reduced to normally, it's my right to have my wine at night. They kind of fight that. It's like a teenager, take their phone away. It's interesting. I work with a lot of women, and I'm not putting this on you because you're a woman, but I've noticed that I've worked with a lot of women in the past year that because they don't think that they have control in other aspects of their life, whether it's at work or in their marriage, they've kind of claimed that as their right. Like, I have the right to drink every night, and I've reduced a lot, and I'm not out of control, and I'm not blacking out, and we're not getting in fights, but it's my right to have my wine. And it's like that. It's like the emphasis is on the freedom to drink. But in reality, freedom is those alcohol-free days and the control, obviously controlled drinking and not having alcohol adversely affect your life. That's freedom. So whatever your reason is to cling on to that comfort or knee-jerk reaction because it's getting dark outside, or the habit of saying, well, this is what I do. I've done it for 20 years. I drink wine every night. Whatever it is, as long as you're aware, doesn't mean that I'm going to say you have to have an alcohol-free night. Nobody should force you to have an alcohol-free night. It's just the act of being aware. Why am I drinking on a Tuesday night? Is there anything else I could do? Am I really craving emotionally or physically? Am I honestly craving alcohol? Because if I'm not craving alcohol, why am I drinking alcohol right now? What is it giving me? Why can't I just have some herbal tea and watch a good movie? What is it giving me? And if you're not asking yourself those questions, you're right. You're not going to change. Because, and by the way, if you answer that question and just say, you know what? It's Thursday night. It's snowing outside. I made a beautiful beef bourguignon. I want a glass of red wine with it. And I took my pill and waited an hour. That's fine. That's fine. Enjoy your glass of red wine with the beef bourguignon that you cooked after you took your pill and waited an hour. That's perfectly fine. But it's not fine if you just say, well, this is what I do every night and I just feel like it, you know, or you just knee-jerk response, pop the pill at 5 every night and drink every night at 6. That's not being mindful. So you can see the difference. It's just simply asking yourself and being mindful about it. And if you have to write it down, if you have to have an internal conversation about it, if you have to call a friend and say, you know what, I had a really crappy day and I'm dying to drink, but I'm not really craving. So can we talk for a while? If you have to go on a walk around the neighborhood, get your heart rate up, you know, just to bring the cortisol levels down, and then come home and say, okay, do I still want to drink? Yeah, I still want to drink. Okay, at least you delayed it. You know, I mean, there's all sorts of little ways to get around this, to skin this cat. And I think that you're aware of it. If you weren't aware of it, you wouldn't have brought this question up. So I think you know the answer, is what I'm saying. What do you think, Amber? Hello?
Sorry, I had muted
Yeah.
myself there.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, that's all great food for thought. And yeah, I think I've just gotten so used to doing the TSM that I had stopped really thinking about things like I did at the beginning. And I'm just, yeah, like you said, in a habit of taking that pill at 4 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock I can pour my glass of wine and I can make a nice dinner and enjoy a nice glass of wine with my dinner rather than pounding back, you know, vodka. But now, you know, now I realize that I need to like start revisiting, really thinking about why I'm drinking and picking the times I drink, you know.
Yeah, but you know, don't
just be
force
more mindful about it. Yeah.
it's the holidays are coming up, and if you know, don't create some big drama in your life. You've done amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
you made incredible changes with TSM to go
Yeah,
from,
I feel amazing.
and I would say to you that even if you just made one hard set rule, and that is no hard alcohol.
Yeah.
And I think if you can keep to that rule for at least a year, or you know, I think that's a lot of people's downfall, is hard alcohol, because it just floods the brain. If you can stick to a couple glasses of wine a night, I would not beat yourself up. I think you're doing great. And when it feels right to you, if all of this reflection and mindfulness, and maybe at 4 o'clock, instead of automatically, you know, on autopilot popping the pill, say, do you just ask yourself, can I delay it until 5? Maybe I can send some emails, make some calls, take a walk, do some stretching, do a little yoga, or pick up some paperwork, do my taxes, do something that I didn't want to do. Okay, and then delay it until 5. And then at 5, if you say, do I really need to drink tonight? And then if it just isn't getting out of your head, it keeps niggling at you, then you can take your tablet. See, it's a psychological battle with a lot of people.
Mhm.
Because it's like, I've come this far, don't take it all away from me. Okay, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, but you're not going to take it away from me. And what I'm telling you is no one's taking it away from you. But there's going to come a night when you're going to say, it's Monday night. Do I really need to drink tonight? I mean, you know, I'm going to have a tuna sandwich for dinner. Do I really need to? Now, on the evenings that you cook something beautiful, yeah, okay, have your wine. But you know, it's not every single night that
Right.
you know, when you look at normal people, they don't drink every single night. So eventually these little thoughts are going to creep into your everyday existence, and you're going to go, You know what? And you're going to relinquish that control, that thing of like, it's my right at 4 o'clock to take that pill. Even like I said, just try delaying 15 minutes. I'll take it at 4:15. And then at 4:15, ask yourself, do I really need to take it at 4:15? Okay, I'll try 4:30. You can play game with yourself. And if you don't get an alcohol-free day, big deal. At least you tried. So don't beat yourself up, okay? Whatever we've discussed, do not beat yourself up. You have gone from a substantial amount of vodka to a couple of glasses of wine a night. You're doing great. You're doing.
And I guess it's fine to keep taking that pill night after night for well over a year. Like that, it's not gonna, I guess it's better than drinking the alcohol that I was. I get that, but it's still okay to keep taking that pill on a daily basis for long periods like that.
Yeah, people take it every single day with abstinence. That's how it's prescribed normally. And people get the Vivitrol shot, so it's in their body 24/7. People have implants, naltrexone implants that deliver naltrexone to their body all the time. It's used for opiate addiction. It's used for alcohol use disorder. It's used for a myriad of things. People take it in microdoses for sleep, anxiety, depression, multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, cancer. So is it safe? Yes. Has there been some reports of people being on it for many, many years and suddenly feeling, a little dullness around the edges? Yeah, sure. You take an opiate blocker every single day for 20 years, you might feel better when you don't take it. But that's what the dual aspect of the therapy is. That's what Dr. Sinclair was most excited about, because not only are you reducing your drinking, but on those days that you don't drink, you're getting this big endorphin response. You're getting a lot of dopamine flooding your brain, and you are learning to love good things for your body. Surfing, making love, eating spicy food, playing with kids, playing with animals, going on long walks, nature. You're learning to love Pilates, yoga, dancing, singing. You're learning to love music, because that's what your brain is now starving for. So there's a reason why it's 2 therapies in one. That's not something to poo-poo, but you just might not be ready to really explore level 2. And that's okay too. Get through level 1. Level 1 is compliance, motivation, journaling, mindfulness, seeking out your TSM friends, repairing your relationships, setting your boundaries, self-love, self-forgiveness. That's all level 1. Level 2 is, I'm going to create a brand new life. I'm going to get that endorphin system going. I'm reducing my drinking so much, it's not even important. I'm going to go skiing. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to remember my trip. I'm going to go hike the Andes. That's level 2. That's big. That's like my new life stuff. And that all starts with the alcohol-free days. But you know what? Not everybody's ready for that. When you're ready, you're ready. And the most important thing is you do the best you can where you are right now. And you're doing great.
Thank you so much for all that.
You're so welcome.
Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you very much. And I'll cross over now to Pedro. So Pedro had a really good question about letting go of the fun aspects of alcohol. Do you want to talk to that, Pedro?
Thank you. Yeah. You sort of addressed that in the previous question, actually, so hopefully it won't be repetitive, but I guess I'm on my ninth month, or even 10th maybe, and I have started drinking less. I do have alcohol-free days here and there, but I guess I realize that I still have this obsession with alcohol, in the sense that I just imagine that life is just never going to be the same, because I feel like by nature, or maybe it's social anxiety, I'm not sure, like I'm a bit shy or timid, and when I discovered alcohol, my life changed and I just became more fun, and I would be able to speak my mind and be assertive and have lots of fun and go to a bar and meet strangers, and those strangers would become my lovers or my new friends, and I would end up, like having these crazy, beautiful adventures. And of course, a lot of that turned into negative things with time. But now I guess I worry that my life is just going to be dull, and I can't let go of that thought. I'm like, yes, sure, I can like not drink, but then I tend to be shy again. I tend to isolate myself and to play it safe in life in general, you know, whereas when I am drinking, I'm bold, I'm outspoken, life is intense, it's edgy, it's not even just socially, but even just in the way that I think, that my brain works. Like I feel like my brain is more capable of creating like edgy thoughts, you know, and when I am sober, I just feel like, yes, like I'm always like on the safe side, and this is it's almost like an existential thing that I struggle with, you know, and I feel like this thought pattern is maybe a hindrance to me progressing with TSM, because I feel like I'm just like not able to let this go, and maybe it's like I can't imagine my life on the other side except in this like dull projection, you know. And I'm just wondering, I don't imagine I'm the only person that's thought that.
No,
I'm
and you're
wondering,
not.
any-
Yeah.
yeah, if you have any advice, or if there's
How old
anything
are you?
experience that could maybe help me.
May I ask how old you are?
I turned 40 this year.
Okay, and when did your drinking become uncomfortable or out of control?
There were some aspects of it that maybe around 35 started becoming a bit uncomfortable, but it was still kind of manageable. But it was definitely after COVID, after lockdown, it started getting problematic. Then that's when it became like I would have to drink in the morning to feel stable. And that's when I was like, okay, it's over. Like I can't, this is not a positive way to go forward. So it's not, it's done, you know? Yeah.
Mm. So let's look at the facts. The facts are that you most likely did learn the condition of alcohol use disorder. You developed an alcohol use disorder. Otherwise, you wouldn't be drinking in the morning to maintain. So you were trying to basically not go through withdrawals. When you're drinking in the morning, you're drinking to get rid of the withdrawal symptoms. So let's say that it's really not safe for you to drink without naltrexone, like it wasn't safe for me to drink without naltrexone. Can we agree with that?
Yes. So it's definitely
Yeah.
not
Right.
any
Okay, so and then can we also agree that you are allowed to drink on this method? You're not forced to go to meetings every day and be abstinent. So alcohol is still in your life, so you can socialize, you can go out, but you just drink with control, correct?
Yeah, not always. I tend to drink through the naltrexone because it gives me these like thrilling, fun nights out, you know? And so I don't know if I should be avoiding this, you know, but if when I don't do it for long enough, I feel kind of bored. And that's, I
Right.
guess, struggle.
So what we need to do, what I think you should do is be really, really honest with yourself and take a piece of paper and as much as you can remember all of the negative things that happened on alcohol, whether it was dangerous, putting yourself in danger, putting somebody else in danger, saying the wrong thing, whatever it was, being sick, throwing up, blacking out, car issues, whatever it is. The reason why is not to humiliate you and not to embarrass you and not to shame you. The reason is because we romanticize alcohol so much. I literally thought that I could never go to Italy without drinking. I thought, well, I can never travel to Europe again because now, I'm not drinking. I can't get hammered in London, or I can't go out and club all night. All of it, believe me, now that I'm on the other side, and I am shy in social situations. I actually have so much more fun now because I remember it and I feel better. And I'm not saying that you and I are alike or any way, shape, or form. I'm just giving you my life experience now and saying that all of this, the romanticizing of alcohol, is because we don't want to remember the trauma that it brought to us, and that our brain doesn't want to harp on that. We're naturally formed that way, is that when something really, really horrible happens, we really try to forget it. And that's just a natural reaction of being a human being. So when you say, oh, but it was so fun and I went out and I was bold and everything, we don't know what the people around you thought. Maybe they thought you were kind of being a jerk because you did say everything that was on your mind, or you had no filter. We don't know. I mean, you don't know. We don't know if you were attracting the right kind of people in your life. I'm saying to you is you can go to those same clubs and you can still pick up people to sleep with, and you can still, do all the things that you want to do, but you don't need to have 12 cocktails. You can have 2. Now, the question is, well, with only 2 cocktails in my system, I don't make those choices to go home with a stranger. I go home by myself. So then you have to ask yourself, who's the person that alcohol makes you? Is that really you? Are you really that person that wants to have these one-night stands or have fun or club all night or be hungover? Is that who you think you are? Or are you really this person who's actually a really great man, but maybe you are a little bit shy, and maybe over time, without the crutch of alcohol, you will blossom, you'll come out socially. Maybe you'll start to be able to find yourself becoming more bold simply because you love yourself. Maybe you'll start saying things that you want because you believe in yourself, not because you're loaded. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Do you think that that's something that would happen naturally if I just continue doing TSM, or is there something that I should be doing parallel to this process to make that happen?
I think you're going to have to start really, really understanding what alcohol was giving you during the pandemic, why you started to isolate, and why the drinking got out of control. And if it was simply a matter of you upkicking your alcohol intake and you already having a genetic predisposition to developing an alcohol use disorder, that's one thing. But there might have been something along the way, being bullied as a child, being molested, sexual issues, being, the demise of a relationship, financial issues, whatever it is, you have to examine your life and say, okay, maybe I was relying on alcohol to forget something. Maybe I am in a little bit of pain. The alcohol is not going to fix your life. You know that. It's actually going to magnify problems for us. If you're drinking in a celebratory way, in other words, if you're only drinking because you're happy, and you're only drinking because you're with your best friend and you're at your favorite beer bar, that's completely different than I'm drinking every single night to forget. And I'm now saying, oh, but I'm more fun on alcohol. There's a big difference between having fun on alcohol and drinking because you're in pain. And you have to say, you have to really look yourself in the mirror and say, is every single time I drink really that fun? Or am I just not allowing myself to be my true authentic self? Because my true authentic self might be a little quieter, but I'm actually a really good person, and I'm fun and interesting once you get to know me. And also, are all those people who you think you're having a good time with, are those people that are long-term relationships? I mean, do your friends know who you really are? Do your friends care if you're drunk or sober? Do they actually say that maybe you're more fun when you're not plastered? I think we're all more fun when we're not plastered, because we make sense and we don't repeat ourselves and we don't say mean things. But so you really have to look at all this and say, am I imagining this life, this beautiful, crazy life I had, or was it really crazy and out of control? Because the bottom line is, as long as you take your pill and wait an hour, you could go clubbing. You could go clubbing and you can drink. Just be safe and don't drive. But, it's not like anybody's stopping you from doing all those things. You're just drinking less. That's all. You see what I'm saying? Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I guess it's just like it gives you the chance to do some work gradually that is deep, because I know, I kind of know why I started drinking and what it's soothing, and why it became compulsive, but there's a lot of work to do, and the fact that I can continue drinking sometimes gives me a chance to do that in a more gradual way, but I have to do it, or else I'm just gonna continue living with the same mindset that made me become an alcoholic. And
Exactly. We have to deal with the demons at some point. All of us, every one of us has to address our demons, look them in the face and say, let's sit down and talk this out. And whether that's you do it with a therapist, or you do it with a friend, or you do it through journaling or meditation or prayer, whatever it is, you need to address the issues, why you got here to this meeting.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're just going to be taking a pill and hoping for the best. And you're not going to evolve. Recovery is a process. I keep saying this, but it's not just words. In the beginning, we find, oh my gosh, now I have control and I can see things more clearly and I feel better and I look better. And then, well, but I kind of miss this and I miss that. Why? And then we have our first successful trip where we remember everything and we didn't make a fool of ourselves and we didn't black out and we didn't bring a stranger back to our hotel and we're like, yay, this is great. But we're still not dealing with the why.
Mhm.
And so every time we see our brother or our father or our mother, whoever triggers us, or my ex or whatever, your ex, or we go on a bender, regardless of taking the pill. These things the demons are going to keep popping up. And until we deal with them and come to some sort of place of forgiveness and healing, you're right. You're going to keep in the seventh circle of hell. You're just going to keep making that round. We want to get up. We want to move out of these circles and onward up to the light. So it's work, but it's beautiful work. Don't be discouraged. You have a medication that works for you. You have your wits about you. You have your health. So now you can do the work and it'll come. Give it time. Just stay compliant and stay mindful and stay present and do what you can to determine what happened and examine it at your own comfort level. You don't want to dive deep until you're ready. So maybe one night you're laying in bed and you say, okay, I'm ready to examine the why this started and when it got bad. And feel those feelings. And if you cry, you cry, and maybe in the morning you wake up having had dreams about it and you feel a little bit better. And then you say, okay, I'm going to try that again in a week or so. That's the process of recovery. Your subconscious is quite remarkable. So if you go to bed at night with the intention of solving some of this stuff, and you keep a book in maybe a journal in your bed and write down your dreams, you'll see your subconscious is trying to heal you. You have to give it the space and the permission to do so. That just sounds hooby-jooby, but it's true. We want to get better. We want to be whole. And you are wonderful, regardless of the fact that if you're shy or outgoing. You can become outgoing. I've become outgoing in sobriety. I'm no longer the shy person I was because now I'm truly myself. So it's all there. It's all there and it's all possible. And once again, you're doing really well too, simply by showing up at this meeting and by taking the medication and by acknowledging the reduction in your alcohol consumption. And it's okay to acknowledge that maybe you miss it a little bit, but just try to understand that we do romanticize it a lot because we're trying to forget the trauma it caused in our life. So just keep that in mind when you start to romanticize it. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Pedro. Really appreciate that. And I like the way you talked about gradually getting to know that sober person, because in the abstinence-based world, you need to abruptly get to know that new person. Yeah. TSM allows you to really explore what that new sober you is in this new world. And you can do it over the course of months and years and so on, rather than abruptly. And then you always miss the old guy. Tom, I'll throw to you. So you originally had a question about post-extinction vigilance, but also redosing. So fire away, sir.
Yeah, Claudia, thank you so much. I'm post-extinction. I think you covered everything I was going to ask about being vigilant and how you tackle the stressors in the years to come. But another thing we see in the community a lot is redosing. Whether it's very controversial. Some people say 4 hours, some people recommend against it, some people recommend different times. What have you found in your work with people? Is it effective, and how often should people do it?
So there's a lot of different opinions, and it's really interesting because when I started TSM, I was a binge drinker, and it stopped the binge drinking. So I wasn't a person who drank for more than 10 hours. The half-life is between 10 and 12 hours, as we know. So Dr. Sinclair said to me, you know, when I said, oh my gosh, I'm going to go traveling in Europe, what am I going to do? You know, I think I was in month 6 or something. And he said, well, you're just going to do the same thing you do here. You're going to take a tablet and go to dinner and have the wine, and that's that. And he reminded me, he said, just make sure you really, you know, you drink when you're really craving, because we want to undo the craving in your brain. And maybe if you're not craving, then you don't drink. Okay. Well, that worked for me because I didn't drink for 10 hours. But then, you know, over the years, I've had clients that they metabolize it quickly, or they're young, or they seem to burn through it. Or I had one guy who started drinking at noon on New Year's and found himself doing shots at 6 p.m. and went on a complete bender. So the answer is, everybody has a different opinion. Dr. Adi Jaffe was telling people take it every 4 hours to be safe. There was a couple other doctors that said, well, they felt more comfortable telling people 6 to 8 hours, depending on their age. Other people say, you know what, let's just be safe. And if you drink it at lunch, take one. And if you drink at dinner, take another one. And if you're traveling, you know, that's going to be your rule. So it depends on the situation and the person. And the only way you're going to find out is by being completely honest with yourself. In other words, if you go to Thanksgiving this year, it's Thursday, Thanksgiving is Thursday, you go over to your aunt's house and you're helping her cook. And at 2 o'clock, somebody opens up champagne. Okay. You take the tablet at 2 o'clock, you're dying to try it because it's expensive champagne. And at 3 o'clock, you have your first glass of champagne. You don't sit down to dinner until 7 p.m. Okay, so you took your tablet at 2 o'clock and now it's 7. All through that, now you've had a glass an hour, and now all of a sudden you're sitting down at dinner and you're drinking the red wine really quickly. I mean, they're pouring it and you're suddenly eyeballing the bottle, and you haven't done that in a long time. Your focus has not been on alcohol for many months. Why is it now? Could be that the medication is wearing off. That's why your drinking is escalating. Think about it. You took it at 2. It's 5 hours later now. Maybe you're 35 years old. You've got to be aware at that point, and it's hard. If you start to pound the drinks, it's really hard. So if that's the case, you might want to be safe and say, it's a holiday. I don't trust myself. I'm going to either not drink until 6 p.m. Or if I'm going to drink at lunch, I'm going to stop for an hour, rehydrate, eat something, and take another tablet, and then resume drinking at dinner time. This just has to be you. And I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying I've found that over the years, people need to determine what their limit is. And if they're really, really scared and they don't want to screw up, then they're okay to take a second dose if they've drunk in the morning or the afternoon for some sort of event, like a bridal shower or something, and they want to drink wine at night, they better take another dose. I mean, that's what I found overall, is that most people can't stretch it more than 8 hours, even though the half-life is 10 to 12. I don't know why, but I've had so many people start doing shots at 10 o'clock at night because they drank at lunch. So I would say, common sense, you know, figure in your age, your activity level, how you metabolize other medications, and don't use it as an excuse. You know, if you start to feel the buzz around 7 p.m. because you took the pill at noon, you know what the truth is. The truth is the naltrexone is worn off. That's why you're feeling the buzz. It's not because the wine tastes good. It's because the naltrexone is worn off and you're now in the danger zone. You need to stop drinking. You need to eat something and drink water for an hour and stop and take another pill. That's just, and that's hard to do for some people if you're in the middle of it. So why not just be safe? If it's New Year's Eve and you're going to have an all day, all nighter, redose. If you have enough medication, just be safe. You know, use your common sense. That's what I would say. I don't think there's any fast, hard rules that, you know, every 4 hours you have to take a tablet. I would say that you have to treat the second tablet exactly like the first. You cannot just pop it and keep drinking. You need to stop, take a pill, eat something, drink some non-alcoholic beverages for the next hour. Okay. That's a non-negotiable. But as far as everybody chipping in and telling their redose stories, I'm not really keen on that, because I think that it's something that that you have to use your own common sense and make sure that you're not purposefully letting the medication wear off so that you can feel the buzz. And I think that that takes a lot of courage and a lot of, discipline to do, but it's doable. And if it's not doable, then just go the old fashioned route and take one 6 hours later or 8 hours later, just to be sure. Did that help at all?
That was perfect. Yeah. I've found 5 hours is my sweet spot if I'm going to keep going. So,
Great.
I
You
found
found it. Stick to it. That's wonderful that you found that, and that you were present and aware enough to say, you know what, I'm starting to feel the alcohol. I'm going to start drinking heavily, so I'm going to take another pill. That's amazing.
Yeah, I start to feel like, oh, I'm starting to have fun again, and that's not where I want to be. I know what road that goes down. So thank you.
It's fun until it isn't.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly. There's that little window of I'm feeling, then it's down. Then you're the last man standing at the table, and all your buddies went home to their wives. I've seen that movie many times. That's great that you found your sweet spot. 5 hours is reasonable for a lot of people.
And this is where what you talk about in terms of mindful drinking comes in as well. If every drink is a mindful drink, you will notice that happens. Later on, if you're mindlessly drinking, you won't realize that you suddenly got a nice little boost at 5 or 6 hours because you were just putting your hand to your mouth constantly.
Exactly. And you're not making that choice, and you're not telling the bartender, you know what, I know it's the holidays and you're a good guy and you're trying to be nice to me because I gave you a good tip, but please don't put 4 shots in that drink. Just measure out 1. As much as I'd love the free booze, you got to tell bartenders, you have to tell the waitress when she comes around to give you the restaurant pour, not the I'm a local and a regular pour. You got to put your hand over your glass when you haven't finished it. Don't let them refill it. Otherwise, you're going to lose track of your drinks. It's another thing as a reminder, all of you, there is a reason why we say use the drink log app. And it's because all of the evidence has pointed to the fact that people who use the drink log for 2 years and more do better on TSM. It's just hard data. We've discovered it by doing research. So keep up your drink log even through the holidays. It's a really good opportunity to set little rules and boundaries, like, you know what, Uncle Jim has a whiskey collection, but I'm not gonna do shots. I will take 1 whiskey and I will sip it, and I'll just hold that glass all night because he's going to keep forcing me to try different ones, but I'm just going to tell him, I want to remember the evening. I used to say something to my friends when I was trying to cut down on my drinking, and they were big drinkers in England. And I would just say, no, I had plenty before I got here. And that was just a reference to the past 20 years. It wasn't that I actually drank before the party, but it worked. So, you got to find whatever way it is for you to keep control of what you're drinking and how much you're drinking. Don't let other people control your experience. Don't let other people influence you or guilt you into not sticking to your own program. This is your recovery.
Yeah. And that idea of changing your relationship to the idea that alcohol, like free alcohol, is something that I must have, because we're sort of trained ourselves in the early days. Like, how can I possibly say no to free alcohol? That's something stupid. When you start to frame it as I'm drinking a poison that is not serving my life at all, whether it's free or otherwise, makes no difference whatsoever.
Yeah, true. And the free stuff is usually the crap, the plonk.
Exactly.
But even if somebody had a $9,000 bottle of French Burgundy in front of me right now, I wouldn't drink it.
Yeah.
Have no desire. It doesn't mean that I'm any better than anybody else. It just means that I've reached a point where I'm beyond extinction. So, that might happen to you guys too. You might wake up someday and just say, you know what, it doesn't serve me anymore. I never thought I would be sober. I thought I will be drinking socially for the rest of my life. But there are many levels to TSM. So you just have to be aware of it and watch yourself and really observe yourself as to what makes you want to drink, who makes you want to drink, what circumstances make you want to drink. It's really important.
Absolutely. I'll close with a question from Nathan, and then I just want to fully wrap just on the HERO program again, because I know it's an important part of C3 Foundation. So, Nathan, let me unmute you, sir, and ask away.
Okay, it's kind of a leading question. That's just the nature of how I ask things, maybe. But so Claudia, I'm 32, and I feel like I'm like at like you don't see a lot of people in their 20s coming in here like pursuing TSM. It's like the nature of the poison is like it takes almost until you're 30, at least until your late 20s before you find it at this point. And I find it very interesting that I'm at the age of 32 and I see myself on one end, I see coworkers that are more Gen Z because I'm very much millennial. I see them engaging in the same patterns I did younger, where it was still something fun, where we're traveling to a new city every weekend, got my new job out of college, and it's all about alcohol. And I just see that as just like, no, don't do that. Even if they don't ever develop AUD. And I went to a football game, my alumni, about a year ago, where I unfortunately overdid on the alcohol and kind of passed out the stairs and had some like frat bros come up and just kind of like take photos of me. And I'm thinking to myself, statistically speaking, of you people doing that, a good few of you are going to have AUD by your late 20s, early 30s. And then I'm sitting kind of on the crossroads as 32-year-old between people I see within the community in their 40s who have fully developed into their AUD over years and fully just have no fun with it anymore in the way it's developed. I guess what I'm trying to say is like it's a weird period to be in between those two, to kind of see and relate to both of them. And I don't necessarily know what I'm trying to ask with that. It's just like I see both sides because I'm that age, and it's just weird to see like on one end I was just a punk college kid 10 years ago that thought it was just like cool and shit like that, and now I'm a 32-year-old seriously suffering with it and like that. No, that's not fun. And then on the opposite end, I have people in their 40s literally already having liver issues to the extreme, and it's just like, I don't know. It's like, where do you place yourself with that, you know?
Well, a couple of things come to mind. First of all, I deal with people much younger than you. I had one client who was 19 and became what we call an automatically addicted to alcohol. Dr. Escapa has met people as young as 10, 11, 12. They had hospitalizations in the UK when I lived there. Little kids as young as 5, physically dependent on alcohol. Their parents started them on alcohol and they became physically dependent. If you have the gene and you drink on a regular basis, you can develop it so quickly. And some kids that have social anxiety or shy literally take their first drink at the age of 12 and they're hooked. They're literally hooked. Their brain just says, this is it. And they become immediately dependent. I mean, so fast it'll make your head spin. So at 32, you're by far not the youngest person I've ever dealt with. What you might be feeling though, and what I sense from you, is a little bit of, I don't want to say anger, I don't want to put this on you, but I think a little resentment, because you probably thought, I had another 10, 20 years in me to carry on and party and not have this adversity affect my life. And I don't blame you. I'd be pissed off too. Mine crept in around 36 and devastated my life for about 15 years because I couldn't find TSM. So what I would say to you is the average person that starts developing it does develop it in their mid to late 30s. They just don't recognize it and they don't do anything about it until their 40s or 50s. So most of the people are pretty much on track. From what I've seen in 13 years of dealing with people, yeah, I deal with a lot of people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, but they've had 10, 20 years of alcohol misuse. See, they just didn't have a solution. They were tried AA and rehab and all that stuff, but they kept relapsing. So you're in this wonderful position where you have your whole life in front of you. So there's probably a lot of 50 and 60-year-olds looking at you going, well, I wish I was him at 32 finding the solution. I lost 20 years of my life. So you have to
I would say that my serious AUD started when I was about 24, so I've been in it for about 8 years at this point.
Yeah,
But then
that's-
I hear people in the community in their
Mhm.
40s and 50s to say, oh, it's been 20, 30 years. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person. And,
Oh, and you don't have to be. Isn't that one?
no,
You don't have to be, because you've got this pill that works for you. So what I would say to you is embrace.
even if it takes a few years, even if it takes a long time,
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Stick
that
to
it's
it.
hard to explain to people in the moment. They're saying like, oh, you're having health issues. And I am. I really am at 32. That's when it starts to show up. But I'm like trying to push through at this moment because I want to fix it now
Yeah.
and not let it go until I'm in my 40s and 50s. And I feel very confident still that I can do that.
That's great. I mean, it's a gift. I wish I would have found it at 32. I would have had a glorious 40s and 30s. I mean, I lost all that. So I envy you in some way, but I also see that it might be awkward or weird with your contemporaries. But some people are allergic to gluten and they can't eat bread when they're in France. Some people have dairy intolerance and they can't have ice cream while you're enjoying a big fat ice cream cone. We're all different. And you found something that works for you to control your drinking, and that's fabulous. You have your whole life in front of you. You're going to have wonderful experiences, and you're going to meet the right people because they'll be attracted to you, not drunk you, which is a
I
different.
found that interesting. You talked about like the idea for me still of going to Italy and not having alcohol is still difficult to wrap my head around of
You
not
don't
doing.
have to not have it. You're not sober. You're on TSM. I mean,
Yeah.
so you go there and you mindfully have some red wine. I mean, I go to Italy every single year and I have never drunk a thing in Italy, and I have a ball. I love it. And I remember everything, and I've got great friends there, and no times that I'm not drinking. In fact, half of them, it's like alcohol's not
Like, what's better than drinking in Italy than being completely sober, remembering all of it?
it's the food tastes better because my tongue isn't numb from alcohol.
For sure.
You're doing great. And this is, once again, all of these questions coming up inside of you are wonderful. Just jot them down, because I encourage all of you to just write down your feelings and your thoughts. You'll look back on them someday. And also, once again, you're telling your subconscious to deal with it. And you're going to work all these problems out. And it's a legitimate thing to have concerns and questions and resentments and anger and holiday triggers and all that stuff. All of these are legitimate issues, and they're specific to you. But the only way you're going to learn from them is by recognizing them, acknowledging them, and maybe writing them down or discussing them with a friend and saying, I've got these funny thoughts that keep bubbling up. This is good stuff. This is called recovery. This is called learning about yourself, is when the good stuff bubbles up, you deal with it. When the bad stuff bubbles up, you deal with it. You just don't push it down with alcohol. That's how you recover. You let it come up, you experience it, you think about it, and then you let it sit. You sit in it. You don't just go grab a drink and push it down. The more you grab a drink and push it down, it's going to explode on you one day. So thank you all for your wonderful questions. And I'm just wishing that you all have the best holiday. And I'm going to hand it over to you for closing statements, my dear.
Well, yes. So I've just posted some links in the chat, everybody. Just the donation pages for the C3 Foundation, because as I always say on these calls, whether we know it or not, we are all the beneficiaries of the work of this foundation that Claudia has set up for the sole purpose of spreading the gospel of TSM. So people often jump on the calls and think, this is amazing. Why don't more people know about it? Oh, what can I do to help? Well, there's a foundation that is set up for this entire purpose. So the Hero program and all of the initiatives, if you just wanted to talk to what people can do when they have that thought, what can I do to spread the word?
Every time you book a session with me or one of my other coaches, we tithe 15% back to C3 Foundation. So even by doing something good for you, you're doing something good for C3 Foundation. And the coaching page is yoursinclairmethod.com. Every time you become a hero, whether it's for $5 or $20 a month, you are helping us do programs. You're helping us to maintain. Maybe we can even get our podcast back up and running. So the hero program is so important to us. We finally have, I think, 80 heroes. And I've been scraping them together since COVID, since I think 3 years we've been working on this. My goal is to get 300 heroes. Once we have 300 heroes, we could get to a point where we have actually a little bit of breathing room, and then we can start doing our next level programs. I want to develop a coaching training program that is more comprehensive than the existing one that we use. You know, there's a myriad of things that we want to do. More physician outreach, and we want to attend some addiction places, forums. You know, the yearly addiction forums I used to go to when we could afford to go to them. And I signed dozens of doctors in that way. Corporate sponsorship. We lost our corporate sponsorship for our podcast and for TSM conference that we were doing every year. So if somebody has an idea of how to get a corporate sponsorship for those, we would love to get those programs back up and running, especially the TSM conference. And all, you know, we did our last one because we just don't have the money. So all of these ideas, but if you can become a hero, that would be amazing. If you can book a session with one of the coaches, me or somebody else, that's also great for you and for us. You know, even if it's $5-10 a month, it's the monthly giving that really helps us. The one-offs are wonderful, but becoming a hero gives us something that is actually reliable every month. So, and remember, we don't have an office anymore. It's just me and Jenny. We have, we're always looking for volunteers. Yeah, we're just 2 women running the show. So, thank you, Pedro. And thank you everybody else for saying that you'll support, C3 Foundation, even making just a little contribution. Cause if you got something out of tonight, would be wonderful. And I deeply, deeply appreciate all of you. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your support. We rely on people. We are not, you know, we don't have any regular funding. Our budget is online. It's about $100,000 a year. So, you know, we work on a very small budget, and we want to stay here. We're 10 years old now. Most nonprofits fail after 3 years. We're still here at 10 years, but we want to stay here because we are the only global nonprofit devoted exclusively to the advocacy of the Sinclair method. We do not advocate anything else, any other medication, nothing, just TSM. And we are a one-stop shopping for everybody with the free apps, you know, free meetings. So if you can keep us going, that would be great. Thank you.
Wonderful. That's a fantastic message to close on. And I'm going to let everybody unmute to have a nice chorus of thank yous for Claudia.
Oh, so sweet. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thank
you.
Yeah, sincerely.
So much.
So much.
Happy
Thank you.
Thanksgiving to
Soon.
you and your
Thank
family.
you. I'm so
Incredible.
proud of all of you.
Incredible.
I'm so
Amazing.
proud of all of
Christmas,
you.
maybe.
You're wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be back before Christmas, hopefully, and we'll have one more meeting before then. But in
Love
the
you.
meantime, have a good Thanksgiving and be good to yourselves. Be proud of everything you're doing, and I'm proud of you. Stay motivated and stay in the community and just love yourself.
Thank you.
You
Thank
do
you.
the same.
You back.
Thank
Thank
You.
you.
You're changing people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. I really enjoyed tonight.
As did we. Thanks very much, Claudia.
Bye.